my destiny.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Black Book Podcast. Today, I got a real good friend, man. I've known this guy maybe since, I think 2017. A few months after I moved to China for the first time. We've hung out a lot at the club, you know, or at my apartment. But yeah, dude, this guy has an interesting story. He's a medical student in China. Welcome, Mikka Kabugo. All right, dude, Mikka.
Thank you.
All right, dude. So before we talk about your experiences as a medical student, tell us where you are from.
So I'm from Uganda, Kampala, Uganda.
Okay.
East African boy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And dude, so I know I met you in 2017, but you were in China much longer than I was, like maybe a couple years before that.
Yeah, I moved to China in 2013.
2015, 2013.
2013.
2013. All right. So what were you
Yeah.
doing in 2013?
So when I went to China the first time, I was basically doing medical Chinese.
Okay.
I was doing a Chinese language program, and
Right.
then I kind of got into medical Chinese. Then about going into the new year of 2014, I started my medical program
Okay.
in English. But after a while, I realized that it was going to be tough for me to come to China and study in English and leave without knowing how to speak the language.
Right.
So, because what I had learned at the time was really very little, and I was spending most of my time studying in English. So, and I wanted to get more of the language and the culture, and like, because I was going to be there for a really long time.
Right.
So about that time, I decided to apply for a scholarship to go to Peking University.
Okay.
And when they sent back the results, they required me to do an extra year of like intensive language.
Right.
So I gladly accepted it because they gave me a full scholarship. And then I did that intensive year, and after that, well, the intensive year basically had I had an advantage because it stayed a bit, but there was things like chemistry, physics, maths, like all these things were like in Chinese.
Right.
Just trying to pick up on that. And then at the time when I first came, I was in Xi'an. Then I moved to Jinan for the language program, Shandong University.
Right.
And then eventually I moved to Beijing, where we eventually met. So yeah, that's how I ended up. That's what I was doing then, and that's how I ended up in Beijing.
Okay. Dude, so tell me about that intensive language year, because like I know when I met you, dude, your Chinese is like phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? Like, crazy good. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like reading, your reading ability was just like through the roof. You know what I'm saying? And apparently, our friend Kenya told me that you can write well as well, which is like not very common for a foreign learner of Chinese. Maybe they can read, but definitely not write. But I heard you can write. Is that true?
Yeah, I can read and write. I'm proper literate. I needed to because my program is in Chinese.
Okay, right.
So like there was no other way for me to do it if I didn't have reading or writing ability. It was intensive, and I mean we used to do let's see, 8 to 12, like 1:30 to 4:30, like maybe give or take 8 hours a day of Chinese every day.
Okay.
And we had like an exam every single week, language exam and stuff. But of course, that's never enough, you know. With the language, even till today, there's some stuff that I'm learning, you know.
Yeah.
The characters are so many, so there's always that time when you're like, what does this mean? But because of the way the language is structured, you can pick a couple of things, and if you find a new word, you could always look it up, just like you would do if you're learning English.
But
Or
that's difficult though, because like one thing, I study Chinese, not as much as you do, but I'm beginning to learn how to read, so I could probably read like up to like 100 characters right now.
Mhm.
But like it depends on which font is in. Like if it's in like some crazy font, then like I can't recognize it. Like if it's like in standard, like in a standard like box font, then like it's I can recognize some of the characters. But dude, one thing I know about Chinese is that even some Chinese people say this is that if there's a word they did not study in the former years of their life, and once they reach adulthood and they see a word that they have not studied before, they can't even pronounce the word.
Yeah, yeah. If you see a character that's completely new, you don't even know, you
You
can't
don't even
pronounce
know,
it
you
because you've
can't
never
pronounce
seen
it
it
because
before.
you've never seen it before. But
Yeah,
like that's totally different from English, because in English,
yeah,
in most other languages that have an alphabet, um, if you know the alphabet, then you can guess what the word sounds like. You may not know the
yeah.
meaning, but that's different from Chinese. Was like if you've never even seen this word, you can't do the pronunciation or the meaning of it. So that means you have to go and look it up, right? But
That's absolutely
how
true.
do you look up words that you've never seen before?
So the structure of the language is interesting. As a medical student, there's definitely words I come across every other time, but some of the radicals with the characters
Right,
denote certain meaning. Um, so especially with like sickness, the characters that you see and you know that this character is related to sickness
right, right, right,
or
right,
an
right.
illness. You might not know what the illness is or what the character represents, but you would have that idea that because of the radical in this character, it must be either related to sickness, either related to water, either related to there's radicals that they put with to put the characters together that gives you some sense of its meaning.
Right, right,
And
right.
then I mean with the new technology, optical character recognition, it's much easier to learn new characters or to look them up because you can always just um, use like your screen to like write the character, which was different from before where
Yeah,
you'd have to follow the stroke order of the radicals and stuff like that. So yeah, it makes it harder in that way. The Chinese, there's no phonetic alphabet, and because there's no phonetic alphabet, it's just every character with its own sound.
yeah.
You know how they do the four tones and
Four
all of
tone.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely
So
right.
that's
Yeah, but
some.
I asked you that, dude, because like my girl, Sarah, my girl, she's studying
Mhm.
for the national teaching license now, and she's Chinese, but like some of those terms that she sees in the official textbook, she's never seen any of those terms before. You know what I mean? Like she has a master's degree and all these other things like that, but like she's never seen any of those terms, so she has to like stop and put the book down and go on the internet and like look up the meaning of the word. So like I know how tough it is, dude. But yeah. I mean, sounds like you got that figured out. If you
I'm still learning, man. I mean, after 5 years in med school, it's hard. It's difficult for people to understand when you tell them that you're still learning. But
yeah.
you know this as you're with the Chinese girl, and you know that she's still pushing herself to see that she gets more of the characters.
Right,
I
right,
feel
right.
like if someone got into like any professional like course, you'd have to learn new terms, even in English.
Right, right,
If
right,
you're
right.
doing a business course, you're going to learn. If you're doing economics, if you're doing medicine, you're going to have to learn new things. So at some point, it just becomes okay. This is a new word. So I have to pick up on it, stuff like
Absolutely.
that.
Dude, so you've been in medical school 5 years, right? And so how much
Mhm.
time, okay, with the exception of COVID, how much time would you have um,
Left.
left? Yeah.
I'll say 2 years.
Okay,
Just
okay.
2 years.
So
Yeah.
with COVID, it's probably like an extra 6 months or something, 6 months to a
Yeah.
year.
Should be an extra 6 months to a year.
Uh,
Yeah.
dude,
It's a long
that's
time.
dude, yeah. I know that's a long time, man, but I know you're gonna finish, dude, because when I met you, you was doing it. You're still doing it. So yeah, I mean, so dude, um you're in medical school. After medical school, so what's the plan? Are you gonna go back home, or are you gonna stay in China, or go to another country? What's the deal?
When I'm done, I really want to go back home. I've been living away from home for a long time, but you know that I did take that year off,
Yeah, yeah,
2018. I went back home and just trying to reconnect. You know, I had not been home for longer than uh, 2, 3 weeks, 3, 4 weeks. Like that was the longest time I'd been at home.
yeah,
And yeah, you know, after 5 years, most of your friends are doing different things. You're trying to catch up and trying to be, you know, part of the community again. But that year concretized my idea of wanting to return when I finished. So that year that I took off and spent back in Uganda, it was an interesting year because I started chicken farming
yeah. Chicken
as a way
farming.
to cope. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's I that's my plan. When I'm done, I want to go back. I want to go back to Uganda. And,
Okay,
yeah.
so I mean, like you're gonna practice medicine in Uganda.
Well, that's the other thing. I've been struggling to like decide whether I want to practice as a doctor for career
Okay.
because you know that I do art and make these
Yeah.
paintings
We gonna
and
get in. We
stuff.
gonna get into the art. Yeah, we gonna get into that.
So there's that other part of me that still wants to explore those options.
Okay, all right, all right. Well, since you mentioned the art, let me introduce it the way I found out you were doing art because we have been hanging out for a while. Oh no, 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 no! I remember the first time I met you. You drew something for me, but like I was just like,
Mhm.
oh, this. I was just thinking like this dude is just good at drawing. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know that you were like a real artist until like I think like a few months after that. After a few times I was hanging out, and like I think I showed up to uh man, where I showed up to? One of those events in Beijing where like everyone's just doing their own thing, right? And I look up and I go, man, that's Mikka. What the hell is Mikka doing? Mikka's just drawing this lady. You know what I'm saying? I think you were drawing a woman just from like off the top of your head, and you know what I'm saying. You finish it within a couple of hours. I thought that was real dope. And then I found out that you were doing a lot more art than that. You know what I'm saying? So like, where did you get your passion for art?
Well, I've always done artwork since I was younger.
Okay.
A couple of people in my family are also really into it. My uncle is an artist, so he does professionally. I'd say my mom um also really pushed me because my mom would always look at stuff and be like, "Man, this isn't good. Maybe you need to improve your proportions. Like
Wow.
these tones are not it." So I guess that kind of allowed me, and whenever I had some free time, to just push and,
Yeah.
and try to get better as I went on. So yeah, I've been drawing for a while. Been drawing
Yeah.
for a while.
So I remember I think a couple of times you have sold some paintings. Do you
Hmm.
still do that? I mean, like COVID, probably right now, not right now, but how many paintings have you sold?
So I used to sell a lot because it's always nice to have some extra money.
Right.
You do this drawing and you get so much for it, and you can use it to do other stuff. I've sold a couple. I don't know how to quantify it, but over the last year, 2019, over the last 2 years, I haven't been selling work because I'm trying to build a portfolio.
Okay.
There's this time I wanted to go for residency when I took that year off, like for a month,
Right.
and they were like, "Man, like, where's your work?" And I was like, "I sold all of it, but I have pictures." And they're like, "Dude, like, we
Yeah.
want to see like physical like artwork." So I've been trying to collect some of my work since 2019.
Okay. Okay.
So I have a couple of drawings. Maybe when I return to China, I might do an exhibition or before I leave this place.
Well, you
I
in New
have,
York. New York is a good place to start. Well,
yeah,
are you in New York or South Carolina? Or North
I'm in North Carolina now.
North Carolina. Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right. So I
sister state.
remember.
But
Yeah.
I was in New York for the first 5 months. You know,
Okay.
when COVID was crazy, I was there.
Heavy. Yeah,
Stayed in the house for like 3 months,
yeah,
like straight three
yeah.
months. So
Okay.
yeah.
Dude, so you got the medical stuff, and you know you're definitely like an already a professional artist because you've already sold a bunch of fucking work. Um, dude, so like you know before we get out of here, because usually, man, my interviews are actually much longer, but I'm at school right now. I'm
It's
working,
I can see
so
that.
and I'm pretty sure the bell is about to ring. But I want to ask you, like, about the situation between some China and some of the countries within Africa. Your ability to
Hmm.
speak Chinese. Do you find yourself, you know, when you finish your degree in a space where you will be able to sort of mitigate some of those relationships that have been, you know, drawn together between your country and China?
I mean, definitely the advantage of being able to relate to both communities um, gives you gives you an edge. So, I mean, I can speak Chinese, I can speak English, and a couple of others. I'll definitely want to be in that space at some point in my life.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been invested in trying to know what's happening, trying to know how the governments do their bilateral relations and things like that, things you read upon every other day. So, yeah, definitely, it would be something I would be very interested in.
All right. Cool. And yeah, I just asked that dude because you know there's a lot of rhetoric. Either people like it or don't like it. You know, the fact that China has a huge hand in a lot of African countries right now, and a lot of
Uh,
there's even like videos and like you know just things like on all over the internet just showing like either there's a Chinese company doing really bad somewhere in Africa, or or they're not doing. I mean, like they're doing worse than bad, which is like nothing at all, I guess. Um,
yeah.
you know, and you know, me talking to other people, you know, I guess the best thing would be, you know, would be for people who's from there locally to actually learn Chinese, because sometimes I think a lot of the local people feel like the government maybe has, you know, bitten off more they can chew, you know, accepting a
Uh,
contract from China, and but not really understanding who the Chinese are and how they write up
mhm.
contracts and stuff like that. Um, you know, the only way you'll actually understand that is from when you are living in China and working with them and going in their schools and stuff like that. Because, you know, China is very different from like the rest of the world. You know, even other Asian countries like I've been to, like they're just totally different.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely true. The thing about that is people usually speak about China and Africa relations as if Africa is like completely helpless,
Right.
you know, like they're being toyed with. But then, for my thing is, I think African leaders, particularly, are going to play an important role in how the relationships are going to go forward. All these videos we see on the internet and all the propaganda, it's tough to discern because if China, for whatever bad they say they're doing in Africa, um, you can't compare it with all the 100, 200 years that we've been suffering with the West
Right.
interfering in our politics, you know, taking all the natural resources. Those are all things that you have to put into consideration.
Right.
China is coming up as a superpower as well, largest economy, I don't know, second biggest economy in the world. It's gonna face so much adversity. But for me as an African, I'd say that I'm just looking forward to us getting better deals, getting better investment deals and stuff like that. And seeing that some of the things that we do as Africans are able to benefit us and our people to, you know, to its value.
Okay.
So
All
that's
right.
my view on it. That's my take. Like it's up to Africans are not completely helpless. Like
Oh no, no,
our
no.
hands are
You
not
know,
tied. You know.
I'm not saying that at all. It's just you know, I just wanted to you know get someone's you know perspective on it.
Yeah.
But so really quickly, in terms of your artwork, is it online anywhere? Can people like find your artwork online?
So at the moment, I have a lot of it on Instagram.
Okay.
So
What's your IG?
uh, I'll send it to you. It's Kabugo underscore Mikka.
Kabugo underscore Mikka, Kabugo underscore Mikka. All right, at IG.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And man, what I always do is for any of my episodes, the guest gets the last word. So anything you want to say, you can say it right now, and then we'll end.
I'm really glad that you are doing this podcast. I'm proud of you. We can have this conversation. We can share all these stories and how we've intersected in China. I wonder where we'd ever have met. Boy from Uganda, man from Chicago.
Right.
Yeah, so that's something I really appreciate.
All right, cool, man. Well, I thank you for coming on the show. And man, remember, guys, I'm Eric Charles. It's Mikka Kabugo, and that's the Black Book Podcast.